Most political arguments sound like disagreements about principles: justice, freedom, equality, order. We assume people act because they believe these things. Vilfredo Pareto asked a disturbing question: what if the order is reversed? What if humans do not act because of their ideas, but instead create ideas to explain actions they were already inclined to take? This is not a claim that people lie. It is a claim that we misunderstand ourselves. Pareto divides human behavior into two layers. He calls them residues and derivations. Residues are the persistent parts of human nature: our need for belonging, stability, aggression, security, innovation. They are not theories, they are tendencies. Derivations are the explanations we build around them: political doctrines, moral arguments, philosophies of history. So a society seeking stability may speak the language of tradition. A society seeking change may speak the language of justice. But the language is not the cause, it is the interpretation. Pareto does not say ideas are meaningless. He says they rarely operate alone. We experience motives first and understand them afterward. This is why opposing political movements often feel morally certain. Each believes it discovered truth, yet both may be expressing different human needs: security or transformation. The debate becomes philosophical, but the conflict underneath is structural. From this, Pareto reaches his most famous conclusion: societies are always governed by minorities, not permanently the same minority, but always some minority. Revolutions do not eliminate elites, they replace them. He calls this the circulation of elites. When a ruling group becomes rigid or detached, a new group rises with a new justification. Divine right becomes nationalism. Nationalism becomes technocracy. Technocracy becomes reform. The language changes. Governance continues. Pareto describes two recurring elite styles. Lions prefer force, tradition, and order. Foxes prefer negotiation, adaptation, and maneuver. A stable society contains both. Too many lions, you get stagnation. Too many foxes equals instability. Politics becomes the ongoing adjustment between them. But this can sound abstract, so let's make it concrete. When Pareto speaks about lions and foxes, he is not describing personalities. He is describing methods of governing. Every ruling group faces the same problem. How do you keep social order when millions of people disagree? There are only two broad strategies. The first is firmness. You maintain stability by making rules fixed, authority visible, and consequences predictable. People obey because the structure is solid. Pareto calls this the lion method. The second is adjustment. You maintain stability by negotiation, compromise, and reinterpretation. People comply because the system adapts to pressure. Pareto calls this the fox method. Both produce order, but in very different ways. A lion government says stability comes from enforcing rules. A fox government says stability comes from managing change. Some regimes collapse because they refuse to bend. Others collapse because they never stand firm. Societies rarely fail from ideology alone. They fail when the governing style no longer matches reality. Too many lions, and pressure builds until rupture. Too many foxes, and trust dissolves until nothing holds. Stable societies alternate between them, not morally, structurally. Revolutions rarely eliminate elites. They change the type of elite. Force is replaced by negotiation, or negotiation by force. Power persists, but its operating method changes. Pareto is often read as denying truth. He is doing something narrower. He is separating the logic of arguments from the psychology of belief. An argument can be valid and still gain acceptance because it satisfies a human need. So political understanding requires two questions. Is an argument logically sound? And what human need does it organize? This insight creates a danger. If all beliefs are just masks for interest, discussion collapses into suspicion. But ignoring it creates another danger. Believing moral language alone explains history. Pareto warns against naivety, not against reason. Ideas matter, but they operate inside human psychology, not above it. People rarely act only because something is true. They act because it fits their situation, and then understand it as truth. If arguments alone cannot prevent power, then freedom cannot depend on persuasion alone. Pareto forces us to accept something uncomfortable. Power does not vanish, it changes form. Revolutions replace rulers, they rarely eliminate rule. Every society develops minorities that organize, coordinate, and decide. If that is true, then a question emerges. Not how to create a society without power, but how to prevent power from becoming unquestionable. This is where Popper returns. Popper did not promise a world without elites. He promised something narrower, a world where rulers can be corrected without violence, where mistakes can be removed without removing people. Pareto explains why authority always forms. Popper explains how freedom survives anyway, not by trusting leaders, but by protecting criticism. So the open society is not a society without hierarchy. It is a society where hierarchy never becomes final, where no group, lion or fox, can close discussion permanently. Freedom does not require the absence of power. It requires the absence of unchallengeable power. Pareto teaches caution about political language. Popper teaches hope for political method. Together they suggest a sober conclusion. We cannot escape human nature, but we can design institutions that keep its dangers reversible. Next, we return to James Burnham. If elites always exist, then the real problem of politics is not eliminating them, it is limiting them.